Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to Sane Game Studios' first video. I am Sane, and I am an amateur game developer. I'm going to take some time to talk about how and why I first got into game development, like in the first place, as well as some mistakes I made starting out, and things that I wish I knew from day one. Firstly, like how and why. Okay, so like I was a drug addict, I had like a substance abuse problem, and when I was getting sober, I found myself with a lot of free time and no way to fill it. So after I ruined my life for like the millionth time and finally got sober, I decided to go visit my sister in another city. And just as I arrived, the engine blew up in my car. And I took it as a sign from the universe, and I think I stayed. Like I moved in with her and her husband, started looking for a job and home place, and yada yada. One night it was like 11 p.m. on like a work night, and I was messing around on YouTube, which is something that, like I never did at the time. And I came across a video for a code-free game engine. I got like so freaking excited. Like I jumped out of my bed and I ran and I grabbed my brother-in-law's laptop and asked him if I could download it and started teaching myself how to use it. I didn't sleep like at all that night, and like it was rough going at first, and for like over a year I did not make anything like even remotely playable. Like I wish I still had some like of my old projects so I could show you just like how broken and unplayable like they really were. But like that was my first mistake and like my biggest piece of advice. And it's like you want to make games, like great, like that's awesome. Like I hope you find it as fulfilling as I do. But like please take some time and research game engines and like find the right starting point for you. And like that'll be like the majority of the focus of this video is looking at a few engines and their viability for beginners and how easy they are to learn and how hard the learning curve is and how feasible each one is in the long run. Right. So yeah, with all that said, let's jump into it. Start off with the engine that I first discovered, and that is GDevelop. Okay, so like as I said before, this engine is completely code free. It's built off of cause and effect. So like essentially, if this, then that, which is great. Like it's easy to learn. It has a gentle learning curve. It's an amazing precursor to coding. A lot of coding is just setting parameters, and then when those parameters are met, do this. The only problem, in my opinion, is that you're restricted to a library of causes and a library of effects. Developers of this game engine did an amazing job building a very diverse library, and with enough you know guster in your muster, you can achieve almost anything. If you're somebody who is interested in game development but coding is intimidating, this engine is either a great fit for you or just a great starting point. Sarah Spalding said this in the first tutorial I watched of hers, that code free is the easiest to learn at the beginning but gets harder over time, while coding is harder to learn but gets easier over time, and I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. Although like quality games are certainly buildable in either method. Like as you can see, this is their website where you can look into this engine, see if it's what you're looking for or whatever. I'll provide a link to it. I personally think this engine is best used as a launching point, but there are game developers that just use this engine and make a living doing so. They also have a YouTube channel that is like purely dedicated to tutorial videos. I'll also provide a link to that. I believe that I believe the main video creator for these videos is a guy who goes by Helper Wesley. He's a great guy, super helpful. I think he also runs the GDevelop discords, and he and other people are hanging out in there, and they'll provide help and advice, in real time whenever you need it. It really does have a great community. It's easy to learn, and it will get you making games. Now, the next one's the one that I use. This is Gamemaker. Okay, so Gamemaker has this thing called GML Visual, and it's pretty much the same thing as GDevelop. It's just completely code free. Um, I would recommend not using it. They also have GML coding, which is just the code. It's based off of JavaScript. And the main reason why is like, if coding intimidates you, you'd be better off to start off in GDevelop and then come over to GameMaker to start learning code. But most of the tutorials you're going to find are going to be based on the code, right? Like if you go into the official GameMaker tutorials, a lot, you might find, well, you will find quite a few of the GML visual ones. But you start wanting to get into more complex things, start, building bigger, better games, and you go into YouTube and you start looking for tutorials, it's going to 95% just be the coding. So you'd be much better off going into this engine wanting to learn code. But with that, there are some great tutorial makers out there. Okay, so this is Sarah Spalding, and like she's great. She assumes no prior knowledge. She explains everything that she's doing. She not only explains what she's doing and shows you the code, but also explains why, and also explains how the computer logic reads the code and how the computer interprets it. So you kind of get a look underneath the hood and kind of get to see exactly like how your code's being interpreted. And on top of that, then she not only has like a bunch of individual tutorials, she also has like tutorial series, which will teach you how to make like an entire like shooting platformer or like an entire action RPG. So I highly recommend Sarah Spalding. Okay, so this is One Up Indie, another great tutorial maker. He's very thorough, explains his code really thoroughly. He also floats around the community a lot. Like, I went to the Gamemaker Discord and went to the help channel, and like he was the dude on in Discord that was helping me. So he's very involved. I've even seen like in his comment stuff, if you look, when a lot of times, especially when a video is fairly new, he goes into the comments of people like having issues and he helps them troubleshoot and stuff. So like he's very involved and very committed to helping people learn, which is awesome. Like props to you, bro. So last tutorial maker I'm going to show you is Friendly Cosmonaut. Okay, she's awesome. She usually does a lot more of like the hardcore heavy stuff, but she does have some stuff for beginners. She has an entire series on like a farming RPG if you want to make something like Stardew Valley or like Harvest Moon or something, but great content. Okay, so the next game engine I'm going to cover is RPG Maker, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's meant for making RPGs, right? So like, there's going to be like extensions and plugins and like built-in systems and engines that are completely geared towards RPG. I think they have like a built-in engine for doing like character customization and stuff. A lot of things that you're going to have to like code yourself and figure out yourself in other engines are provided in RPG Maker. Like, it's not free. I don't know what the pricing is on it. I'll put a link to this and everything else in the description. You have to look into that yourself, but it's great. So the next one I'm going to look at is Godot or Godot. I don't know, it depends who you talk to. But the great thing about this is that it's free. It's an open source game engine, which means that you can make a game on it, you can publish it commercially, make money off of it, and you don't have to give them a dime. Like, you can donate to it, but like, come on, when's the last time you donated to the food bank or the Ronald McDonald House? You know? But anyways, it's a good engine as far as I know. Like, I've never used it. I think the user interface is a lot like Gamemaker, which is a pretty intuitive. It's rather powerful. I know people. Well, like I've talked to people who have made like 3D games on it and stuff. I do think that it's mostly geared towards 2D games. I'm not sure what language it uses. I think it uses like C sharp or C++. But yeah, it's a powerful engine. A lot of great games have been made on it. As you can see, like right here is a list of the type of games that get made on it. It's a great engine, but I think it might have a little bit more of a learning curve to it, but it is a really good option. So last engine I'm looking at is another one that I've never used. It's Unity. It's probably not something that you would be using as a beginner, but I didn't feel right making a video geared towards engines without at least including one engine that is for 3D. It's super powerful. The games that are made on it are pretty crazy. Like the Outer Worlds was made on it. Among Us was made on it. Genshin Impact was made on it. Right, so super powerful. But honestly, like I've been coding now for making games for like 2 years and coding for about a year, and I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole right now. Okay, so now with game engines out of the way, let's look at the next big mistake that I made when I first got into game development. Right, so like when I first got into game development, my first thought was I was flooded with these fantastical ideas of games that I wanted to make. And I realized very quickly when I tried to make them that I was just biting off way more than I could chew. What I should have been doing was not focusing on what I wanted to make, but focusing on what I could make, and then what I could make would get better. At first, I wanted to make a game like Link to the Past, right? You have this open world, lots of quests, lots of things to do, big ass bosses, like just tons of cool stuff that you can do, and a great game all around, amazing soundtrack, everything. That's still what I want to make, right? But I want to make it more modern, like Swords of Ditto here, which is another great indie game. I highly recommend it. You got multiplayer whole nights, but yeah, great game. But I wanted to take the Link to the Past experience and make it play like this. What I ended up with was this, right? And like, look at it. Like, the animation looks terrible. He looks like he's walking onto the roof when he shouldn't be. Like, the roof should be above him. The water tiles aren't animated when they obviously should be. If you talk to that NPC or try to use that signpost, the game's just gonna crash. The movement's super funky. Like, if you're moving straight up or straight down, it's the only time he'll look up or down. If you try to go on the diagonal while you're moving up, he's gonna turn sideways, and that's super not ideal. And honestly, if I were to have built this now, I'd be like, that's a great start. I can clean this up. I can get things working nicely. Like, now, like I could do this, But at the time, I was drowning in this project, and I was just choking on it. It was way more than I could chew. And that's when I decided to scale back and build something simpler like this. And like, is it pretty? No. It's just blocks and jumping over blocks and avoiding blocks. And like it kind of seems like a side scroller, but it's not. You're standing in one place. At the time, you're not even animated, and the world's coming at you. But does it work? That's the important thing. Did I get it to work? It was simple. And I got it to work, and that was awesome. I was so stoked. And then once I had it working, I did this. Right. All of a sudden, I have assets for the ground. I got a scrolling background. I got an animated character that's running, and I got new obstacles. And then once I got that, I did this one, right? Same idea, just a different level, right? A different character, a different background, different obstacles, right? And then all of a sudden I had multiple levels, right? And I was like, okay, well, let's just build more, right? So then I built this one. And honestly, like I still love this one. Like that background to me is dope. And actually, you don't see it in this video. Like eventually the game will be released and you'll be able to check it out then. But if you die, the fog keeps going because, wind, right? But anyways, I had multiple levels. I didn't know what to do, so I created a title screen, added a few languages, right? And actually, this game doesn't have a title. If you think of a title, let me know. I need to name it. Added a currency system, so when you do a run, you get points. The points turn into money. You can use the money to buy characters, buy levels, buy different sound effects and music, and you can mix match them, do whatever you want, and you can customize the experience through in some social media links. And now I'm making things like this, right? And like this is just me playing with it, right? But I'm building a platform. You can wall jump, you can ledge grab, right? I'm playing with lighting systems now, right? But the point is that I scaled it back and I built what I could. That's the whole point of this entire second half of this video is build what you can, and then once you build what you can, improve upon it, challenge yourself with what you've built, and then you will gain skills necessary in order to build something better next time, right? And like scaling it back and building that side scroller game was probably the best decision I made in early game dev, was just to build something that I was capable of making. And then as that other game gets built, I'll probably do some dev logs and stuff and show you exactly like what's going on with it and everything. But yeah, in the end, those are my two main points. Is just pay attention with your engines. Do some research. Find the engine that's going to do what you need it to do. Right. Second point is scale back your expectations of yourself. Build something simple and then complicate it as you go. Right. And then you will get skills. You will grow as a game dev, and then you will be able to build something better with your next project. The biggest thing that you can do in early game dev is build something you can make and finish it. That's the big thing. Finish it. Build a complete game. But that being said, that's all that I got. Thank you so much for tuning in to my first video. When it comes to plans for this channel, I think I'm just gonna maybe throw in some tutorials, do some devlogs on games that I'm working on, and I'm considering maybe doing indie game reviews. If that's something that you guys would be interested in hearing, let me know down in the comments. If what I'm planning to do with the channel is something you'd be interested in seeing more of, please like and subscribe, general YouTube banter. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and have a good one. Peace out.